Hello everyone, this is PotatoLegion here. I hope you are keeping very well. In today's video, we need to discuss a very important topic. It seems to be quite a big discussion going on in the DBD community, and it is about the DC bots that are coming with the Nicolas Cage update next week. Now, if you don't know what that means, it means when a survivor does disconnect by any means, they will be replaced by a bot. Now, this is good in a sense because that means the game can continue to go. If somebody does disconnect for any reason, the game isn't necessarily over. The bot can do gens, the bot can contribute to the game, and it doesn't feel like it's a completely over because that one survivor can make a huge difference. Now, that isn't the point of the discussion. The point of the discussion that I'm going to be talking about today is, should survivors no longer get a DC penalty because bots are now taking their place? Now, before I give you my answer, let's just talk about a few points before we all come up with an answer. So I have asked a YouTube poll, and this is the poll right here. So I've asked, now the DC bots are coming, should survivors have their DC penalty removed because their player is replaced by a bot? And a huge majority of you voted no, and only 15% of you voted yes. So I'm really curious to see who voted yes and what their points are. So we're going to quickly go over the comments, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and takes. The first top comment by Rue is actually a very fair point. It would be nice if the game can determine if somebody forces themselves to leave because they're just disconnecting on purpose, or if it's an accidental DC. It would be nice if somebody internet crashed and they weren't penalized, where if somebody deliberately clicks leave match, then the game can tell the difference. That would be really cool and the right step towards solving this problem. So here's actually somebody who I think voted yes, which is the next top comment. So, my brothers and sisters, in the entities realm, if there's a penalty, people will avoid it through an obvious loophole of killing themselves on hook. No DC equals no bots, and now you're at 5 gens with 3 players. Just think about the logic here. So this is where the whole debate comes into. If you give survivors a DC penalty, if they really don't want to be in that match, they're going to force themselves to die on hook. So would you rather have a bot in the game, or would you rather have nobody in the game? And this is why we're going to continue discussing this. Another good point here as well is made by Sholo is, I hope the bots have different skill levels. This is actually very true. If the bots just have an overall medium level, then for new players, the bots might actually be really difficult to catch. Whereas for veteran players, they might be a bit too easy. So maybe Behavior needs to come up with some sort of scaling system, or maybe that's already in place, but they haven't mentioned it as far as I'm aware. So that's actually a very good point as well. What level are the bots actually at? Another good point here as well is DBD would just become a PvE game, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. A lot of these comments are very much the same and have the points that has been discussed a lot on Twitter. But before we get into anything, let me just show you just a quick example of how bots play and what you can expect going against bots. Before I get into this game, I'm going to be giving 2 of the bots this build here, which is a very generic meta build, and the same with this one here, which I think is the current meta. Let's see how these bots do. The map is completely random. This is the build that I'm bringing, and I'm playing Legion. What I want to do is showcase how they loop, and I'll slow it down and showcase certain loops and scenarios on how they play. So we can start off here by seeing a bot is getting distance, holding W, the correct thing to do. There was a tile there, but it's not running to it. Its pathing is very bizarre. You see what I mean? There's a tile obviously here, but she's not interested, and she just ran into a wall. See, the bot doesn't really pay attention to where you are and will just follow sort of the most generic looping rules. There's a pallet there on the right, it's completely ignored. Again on the right, it's just ignoring the most basic pallets. It just sort of holds down W and vaults windows. It's very easy to catch. I don't know why they shake so much. Let's see if he actually loops this. How does he loop it? Very pallet campy, very shaky movements. To be fair, they've done 2 gens already. I honestly didn't expect you to run at me. Another thing is, bots clearly won't play comp corners. Nor will they attempt to save or be sneaky when I'm nearby. See, a player might have already gone for a save there. A bot also, yeah, won't go for a save if in chase. So he is probably going to run straight to that window. It's just still curious to see if he will run to that window if I stop chasing. He does. Okay. Now, will this one not know I'm coming because I'm undetectable? No, he saw me. So the bot seems to have already determined the path of chase because I wasn't coming right behind him. Another bad example. He's just running in a loop and gets stuck in me when I cancelled Feral Frenzy instead of trying to get a bit more distance. I don't even know what Dwight's doing, but he could have easily gone for the save while I was chasing Jake, and he's not. And now he's let the other Jake NPC die. Another one is going down. I honestly don't know what the Dwight bot is doing. It's just finished mending. And to be honest, if you are playing killer and all four give up, I mean, camping and tunneling rules and playing with any etiquette kind of goes out the window because you're playing against bots. It doesn't matter, does it? I don't think a bot's going to flame you at the end of the game. He did actually go for the save. What a good little bot. I've got a feeling it's just going to vault again. Yeah, okay. What? Do you think it'll run up this way? No, it's vaulted the double window at the back. What I'm going to do this chase is, because the game's already over, is I'm going to really follow him and see how he loops. So he just waits by the pallet and then vaults super, super late. Now, I just want to make a point as well while I'm showcasing this. Behavior did say that they are advancing the bots again. So obviously it's really hard to determine how good the bot's going to be right now. But I will explore that once the update is out. But as of how it stands right now, this is how the bots currently play. And is this bot trying to take hits for her? No. Let's see how she loops this god pallet. I mean, it is trying to loot me. Very, very neat. The thing is, even though like a mind game like this might catch a survivor off guard, the bot doesn't seem to care. Okay, let's see if I can catch her. It's just camping the pallet? Okay. It will just camp the pallet. Okay. What if I do this? It just runs around in a circle. It understands that that pallet is safe and it will stay by it. So it can work god pallets well, I suppose. And yes, that is a very safe pallet. I don't think I could actually catch the bot here. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Even though I don't think you can even catch a regular survivor here. So they work god pallets really, really well. That's one positive. It won't be absolutely stupid. It will stay by a god pallet. Right, let's see if it can loop like a generic car loop or something like that correctly. I'm gonna give her some distance. Alright, there's a loop here. It's recognized the loop. Can I mind game it? It's actually looping round. Nice. I'm guessing it'll vault. Yeah. You can normally tell when they're gonna vault as well. It's because they'll stand still. I think it'll vault. And it will try and make a decision before it vaults. Whereas a player's a bit more smooth. And I think that's what's the issue. Okay, we've got another car loop. He's camping the pallet. I'll prove my point again. So he'll stand still like that and vault. And now he's left the tile for some unknown reason. See, this is what I kind of like. They know how to play sort of safe windows and pallets. He's got made for this and resilience on. Alright, let's let him carry on. They always camp the pallets. Oh. I think we've determined that they love camping pallets. I don't think they're gonna be able to do much else in terms of increasing the bot's sort of AI and intelligence. What would be cool is if the bot sort of learned off how players play in a sense and copied some of other players' tricks, like ghost learning. That'd be really, really neat. Do I hatch diff me? Okay. What did we learn? The bots run really zigzaggy for some unknown reason. If that needs to change. They love to ignore a lot of tiles, which is very, very odd. They do know how to treat safe tiles though, so if there is a strong pallet and they know the killer can't physically get there, they will stay there and vault back and forth. They love to pallet camp and they are very predictable. To be honest, the way they do play, I have actually versed worse players, even at my MMR, and they do play okay. But the issue is bots are going to play the same a lot, and that is what you're basically going to be versing. A slightly stronger version than that when the update does come out, but that is what you're going to be versing. And you have to remember as well is the bot will take over some survivor perks. So if a survivor did bring, for example, self-care, and then DC'd, the bot would have self-care, and you'd probably find the bot has a higher chance of self-caring somewhere safe when it's injured, and that is not a good play at all. So we're back here to the comment section, and I've shown you guys how bots do play. Now, overall, they play okay. The looping, though, is very generic and basic. They're very easy to catch, in my opinion. They may throw off a lot of new players because of how they pallet camp and vault back and forth, but once you figure out their movements, they're actually very predictable. We don't know, again, if this will change with the coming update. Now, what is the point of me showcasing this? It's just to show you what you'll be versing if, say, for example, the DC penalty was turned off, because you'd be versing a lot more of that. Now, let's get over the points and wrap up this video. So let's try and see this from both perspectives. Let's say that we voted yes and no on this poll. Now let's start off this debate as if we voted yes. Now let's talk about our valid points. Point number one would be that if I did decide that I didn't want to be in the game anymore for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, I would just let go on hook and I wouldn't be in the trial anymore, and then I would leave you all with a 3 versus 1 situation, and then you wouldn't have a bot instead. Whereas if the DC penalty was off, I would DC, you would get a bot and be able to continue your game, and then I can try and find a game that I would rather be in. Therefore, you guys get the game that you want. It may not be another player, for example, but at least you have a bot contributing to the objective, and then you as a killer can continue to play the game, and the other survivors have a chance of winning the trial even with a bot, rather than me letting go on hook. And this is because no matter what, if there is a penalty by any means, I have a means to get away from it because the game allows me to. And that's basically my only point when it comes to voting yes, is because at least you're getting something out of it if I do DC. Whereas now, you know, if there is a penalty, I'm just going to avoid it anyway. You might as well take the bot and let me crack on. And there are so many reasons why somebody might want to DC. I don't want to play against a Wesker 10 times in a row. I don't want to play against a Legion 5 times in a row. I really don't like playing Clown because his fog makes me have headaches. There are so many reasons. I'm being slugged by the killer at the start of the trial and he's bleeding me out. You know, there are so many reasons why somebody might want to DC or kill themselves on hook. So I've made my points to the yes side, and now I'm going to go on to my points for the no side. I'm going to try my very best not to lean towards one side until the very end. So in terms of the no side, the issue with this is as you just saw, we did just verse 4 bots, and their playstyle is very robotic, it's very easy to predict, and they play in a certain way. And even if behavior make the bots slightly smarter, I feel like they're all going to play in the same sort of playstyle. And as a killer player, that's very boring. as a killer player, you want to verse for survivors. You do. That's just why, me personally, that's why I signed up to the game. I don't want to play against bots. I've never enjoyed going to customs against bots, and I've never played against bots off camera. I always want to load in against other players, because as a killer player, it's very rewarding to outplay or down a person on the other side of the screen. It just is. You know, there's no satisfaction out of versing a bot. It doesn't matter if the bot is gonna contribute more than that survivor that doesn't want to be there. It doesn't matter. I would rather the game just be over quicker than verse a bot that's just gonna drag out an already boring game because somebody left. And it's not fair on killers to have to go against bots. If they did incorporate this in some way and they made it so DC penalties were off because of the bot mechanic, then killers should also have an option to leave the game the second a bot spawns in. It's not fair that a killer has to hang out the game just because a bot is in place. Now, the only reason I think that bots are good is if somebody disconnects accidentally and then the game can continue. Because sometimes you've got a game that's going really, really well and you're going against 4 good survivors, but unfortunately one of their internet crashes and you're like, damn it, now the game's over. But it's not now because there's a bot that can continue a little bit and keep the pace going. Whereas at the start of the trial, which is when most survivors DC and give up, that is when it's boring. You know, it's just started. Now I'm going against 2 or 3 bots because somebody doesn't like the fact that I'm playing Pinhead, one of the most lovable killers in the game. And yes, I know that people will give up on Hook, but then we need to revisit that whole topic as well. If survivors have the ability to give up on Hook, then maybe we need to talk about potentially changing the whole Hook stage mechanic where survivors can't give up on Hook, or maybe they can if the killer's within a certain radius. But you got to remember as well, something that's coming soon is the anti-camping mechanic. If you don't know what that is, they mentioned that if a killer is camping by a Hook, the Hook stage won't move at all. It will completely freeze until the killer moves out of the way or if a survivor comes close nearby, which is going to be very interesting as well. If they did remove the Hook mechanic, being able to kill yourself on Hook, then I would highly debate about DC penalty being completely changed or some sort of punishment being in place that isn't a complete block for you playing. Maybe just a minus blood point incentive for the next game or something like that. But again, the game needs to determine when someone clicks leave match and DCs on purpose versus an internet crash. Right, what is the overall point of this? My personal opinion, I can see merits to both sides. I can honestly see merits to both sides. You know, would you rather play against a bot than somebody that's given up on Hook? And honestly, people with the mentality of giving up every game until they get a killer that they want are probably really boosted, and a bot would probably contribute more. Seriously, like I've played against so many people that just don't want to play against like 10 killers in the roster and will give up the second they see them until they find a killer that they enjoy. And they're normally quite bad at the game. Sorry to throw shade, but it's really, really true. Now, my overall opinion, though, is more lenient towards the no side. I really think that DC penalties being off would crank up how many people DC. But because there would be no punishment and it's quicker to DC, there would be literally no reason for you to stick around the second you saw something you didn't like. Like if you heard a nurse blink, you'd probably be like, I don't want to play against nurse. DC, doesn't matter, I'll load into another game. It takes 2 seconds. Rather than me kill myself on Hook, at least a bot will take over, you know? And that poor nurse is like, well, great, now I can't play nurse. I'm playing against 4 bots now. And that's another thing. If DC penalty is off, it does encourage chain DC. So if one person DCs and then the teammates realize, I've got a bot as a teammate, I don't want a bot as a teammate. But even though I like nurse, I don't want to play against bot on my team, so I'm gone, bye. And then they load into another game. And then everyone DCs. And it's a chain here. And all it takes is one person to DC. And that killer's stuck in a trial with 4 bots, which they have to play against now. So I think overall, let's not have the DC penalty off. Or if we're going to, why don't we at least give it a trial run and get a statistic on how many DCs happen over a weekend? That would be really interesting, and I would love to see a trial run of this, because I promise you the DC rates will be through the roof and you'll be playing against a lot of bots, and that is not fun to verse. Anyway, I think I've rambled on for too long. I hope you guys can see merits to both sides, and let's keep this discussion civil, please. I can see points of both sides, honestly, and a lot of you have made some really good points in my poll, so you can go and check out the poll on my YouTube community page, or you can leave a comment down below and keep the comments civil. Let's have a productive discussion about this, because DC bots are coming, whether we like it or not, and it may be worth talking about the whole hook mechanic and DC penalty in general, so that we can make the game a more fun place for everyone. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this discussion. See you all in the next video. Take care. Peace out.
私の名は吉良義景、年齢33歳、自宅は森王町北東部の別荘地帯にあり、結婚はしていない。